I am JJ Messenger, your host. Welcome to Searching the Supernatural, and welcome to the Winston Wildman Research Organization YouTube channel. This would be a shared video for both channels. The topic, Sasquatch and the sounds they make. I have seen what I believe to be Bigfoot, primarily two juveniles. They were flat to the ground, then peeked up over a log. One of them sat up to about 4 feet of height, only to duck down and crawl away, low to the ground. What details did I see? Just two solidly toned humanoid forms. They're about 50, 60 feet away. No tonal variations, like, people who were wearing clothes or like there was skin showing. I would suspect that if they were, in fact, Sasquatch, even their faces were hair covered by the same toned hair. I got them on video, but the video has even less detail than I remember seeing. And it's shared on the Winston Wildman Research Organization's YouTube channel, and some people have commented, hey, not that impressive. And my comment back is, hey, it's real. It's not faked. If you're going to see something unusually impressive, number one, make sure it's not faked, right? And when it comes to encounters, yeah, I admit it's rather dull and boring. It's not exciting. A friend of mine named Ernie Davio did have a very exciting encounter, up close and personal, with a Sasquatch, and that Sasquatch even used hand gestures with him. That occurred at Cobble Mountain Reservoir in Massachusetts, and that's just a tiny bit north of my research area of Granville, Massachusetts. Now, Connecticut and Massachusetts are not known for Sasquatch. I mean, we have our stories, but we're generally not known as a Sasquatch hotspot, except for the year 1895. 1895, Harry Wildman, that was nicknamed the Winston Wildman, hit the pages of the New York Times. The New York freaking Times. Now, even back in the day, this was big media. Since those days, people had tried to debunk the Winston Wildman, saying that he was the creation of author and reporter Lou Stone. But Lou Stone didn't start his career until after the Winston Wildman was first reported. He was just a school kid during the first reports. Now, my group, named after the Winston Wildman, we have found tree structures and formations, limb structures, and multiple large foot impressions. We have recorded unexplained sounds, including vocals, grunts, tree knocks, and limb snaps. Obviously, audible evidence is easier to obtain than visual evidence. I believe that these beings, if you give the presumption that they're real, and not everyone listening may think they are real, if they are real, they are extremely talented at remaining unseen. That much is a given. Now, when Ernie Davio had his encounter, he actually startled a Sasquatch, and that's to Ernie's credit with his stealth and his abilities as a hunter. Bigfoot researchers en masse have been recording odd sounds coming from various United States forests, from coast to coast. Many of these sounds are yells and howls. Some are defined as whoops. Then we have grunts, vocals that may form words and sentences, and whispers. When trying to analyze these possible Bigfoot sounds, we have to rule out any known animals. Now, there's this high-pitched whistle that I thought may have been Sasquatch related, and it's almost a pathetic sounding whistle, like whoop, 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 that kind of sound. And finally, I was able to locate it on the internet as young baby raccoon. So these raccoons make this pathetic, whistle call that I was thinking may have been Sasquatch related, but I was wrong. Now, the best collection of suspected Bigfoot sounds on record is what we call the Sierra sounds. Way back in the 1970s, deep in the Sierra Nevada range, reporter Al Berry and woodsman Ron Morehead recorded a variety of mysterious sounds. The strongest segment of all their recordings would be the rapid chatter. This frantic-sounding chatter sounds very apish, if you will. If one could imagine that an ape would have their own language and could talk, this is exactly what we hear in this clip. Now, naval linguist and audio analyst Scott Nelson has determined that this chatter has the patterns of language. And it's not only the repeated sounds and variations that are used in the chatter, but it's the sounds that were not used. So these sounds are obviously primate sounding. You can't say they were coyotes or anything like that, no. They sound like primates. They have variable sounds, vowel sounds that they're using. And that hock up phlegm sound that is kind of gross. They apparently speak on the inhale and the exhale, both, like and inhale, exhale. They use variable vowel sounds, snorts, and hawking noises. And apparently there's repeated phrases, and they have their own style of language going. Now there are other Sierra sounds that were recorded, some at a distance, and one of them sounds like an old samurai from a karate movie, and those sounds are not as convincing to people. I know Joe Rogan on one of his shows was saying that it just sounded like a karate movie playing in the distance, so he wasn't convinced by that whatsoever, but I'm thinking these are the same men that recorded that rapid chatter, right? And it could very well be, hypothetically, it could be that these Sasquatch or Bigfoots are intentionally slowing down their language, and they're intentionally trying to sound human because they know human beings are there. The human beings are calling back to them, trying to repeat and mimic the same sounds that they're making. And they're trying to communicate with Al and Ron Morehead. So the Sierra sounds, they remain the prize-fighting champion of audio recordings. But there are many, many researchers and investigators, along with my group, that have caught interesting and compelling audio. Now, through the years, I've listened to many compelling YouTube videos of Bigfoot Sasquatch sounds that sounded authentic and legitimate to me. And they're not all the stereotypical conventional bobo call, because millions of people watch the show Finding Bigfoot. And perhaps thousands of people are going in the woods and they're mimicking what I call the bobo call. Ooh! And when you hear that, you're thinking, it's a human being, okay? So I'm not going with the bobo calls. There are, unfortunately, many channels that are sharing the sounds of owls, coyotes, and raccoons, and saying that they are Sasquatch. Now, there are certain owl sounds that even sound like young primates. And when coyotes get going with a pack of howls, yips, and yaps, people get amazed at the variety of sounds that can occur. And raccoons, when they snarl, growl, and fight, they sound like they're 300-pound animals. They don't sound like little tiny raccoons. So people get fooled by the sounds of nature, along with the calls of fisher cat. Fishers. Technically, they're not cats. But fisher cat is the slang term for them, and they can come out with some wild screeches and screams. So when you rule out coyotes, owls, raccoons, and fishers, you end up ruling out a lot of YouTube videos. We have the type of audio evidence shared on YouTube where they urge you to use headphones. And they're urging you to use headphones because the foreground white noise is loud, and the sounds that they're interested in are too far away and they're too faint to be noticed normally, unless you got the headphones on and you're intensely listening. Now, there's no sense in sharing those. Next, we have what I call the heavily filtered audio clips. There's one channel that had some Sasquatch speech that sounded very compelling, but it sounded like it was coming through one of those ghost boxes that you hear on a paranormal investigation with that echoey metallic sound. That's because they put it through a sound editing program and filtered it to the point where it sounds like it's a metallic, electronic generated vocal. Or they don't know how to use audio editing to make a clean and crisp edit, and they're sharing clips with a ton of background noise and this garbled underwater sound, and those are rather worthless as well. So once you filter out all of these YouTube videos, along with the people sharing the Sierra sounds, you've already gone through hundreds of videos, and you start to wave a white flag. But I do know there are groups, individuals, and investigators out there that are catching incredible audio. But good luck finding it, because it's buried in the YouTube algorithm, just as many of my audio clips are not coming up in search engines, and they're buried. Well, I'd like to share some of my audio here as well, and I would like to state that, as a matter of fact, none of these audio clips are generated by the sounds of bear, coyote, owl, or raccoon, or fisher. They are not. Nor are they recordings of human beings, because they're in extremely remote, forested locations in the middle of the night where human beings are not meandering about. So I truly and sincerely believe that these are the sounds of Sasquatch in New England. They are a little bit different from the Sierra sounds. They are less animalistic, and they are more human, and I believe they are more intelligent. Thank you very much. Descriptions of the audio will be posted in text. Well, that's just a small sampling of the odd nighttime vocals that I have recorded. No doubt many of you are thinking they are random people roaming around at night, and there's no way to really disprove that theory. I believe the vocals have unique, non-human quality to them, but that's just my opinion. My group is continuing the research, and we are definitely looking for evidence that will help sway the skeptical. I do have possible hair follicles that may be from the Sasquatch people, but I don't have the means to have them tested. And as a matter of fact, the lack of money, the lack of financing is what really holds us back. So this is why I am very much hoping that the YouTube channels can generate some revenue so we can have revenue for our research. And please like, subscribe, and comment, because all three actions will help the YouTube powers that be determine whether these videos are relevant or worth promoting. And if you fail to do these things, we're just going to die in obscurity. I always figured, what's the point of learning and encountering the unknown if you cannot share it, and if it cannot become known? There's little point in that. So, I like the idea that life is logical, it makes sense, and I ask for your help. Thank you very much. Until next time.